As chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke oversees policy at the world's most powerful central bank. But he rules by committee, made up of bankers from around the United States. Dallas Fed President Richard Fisher is a sometimes vocal opponent of policy decisions. And this year, he regains the right to vote on contentious issues as part of a rotating system.
A lot's happened since the last time we saw each other. QE2 has been implemented. What has actually been achieved in these few months?
It's not clear yet because there's a lag in the time we make a decision, and this decision was made in November, and it works its way through the system. We do know some things have occurred. The economy's economic data is stronger than it was before. That's not because of QE2, but undoubtedly has to do with the programs we undertook previous to this. And we also know that rates have changed. We've had a backup in the 10-year rate, for example, which is a key rate, the rate on 10-year U.S. Treasuries, not because of QE2, but in interesting simultaneous timing, we've actually seen a lifting of the tide of the boats of the economy. That's the good news. The bad news for Americans is that those boats are still tied to the dock in terms of employing people, which is the purpose of the program that we've undertaken. Felicia, as far as I'm concerned, I think the Fed has done, if not enough, we're certainly close. And it's up to the fiscal authorities now, the regulatory authorities. They have to give business men and women who actually create private sector jobs. That is what works in this country. They have to give them incentives, and they have to clear the air. And that's the real issue. No one's complaining about the cost of money, the availability of capital. There's lots of liquidity out there.
Plenty of liquidity out
there.
So
our job, I think,
job
has been
creation?
done. And I don't think, well, Jean-Claude Trichet, who's the head of the European Central Bank, said it very well on Friday. Responsible monetary policy cannot offset irresponsible government. And we have a Congress and we have an executive, not just this president, not just this last Congress, but for too long, Republicans and Democrats that have been disincenting business, sending signals through tax policy, spending policy, regulatory policy. It just doesn't encourage people to take risk.
Mr. Bernanke has had to defend his choice to go ahead with QE2 because there's a certain amount of divisiveness about this. And he has said that it bears emphasizing that the Federal Reserve has all the tools it needs to ensure that it will be able to smoothly and effectively exit from this program at the appropriate time, hinting possibly that this could end sooner than its full completion through June. Do you think that's going to happen?
The way that the decision was made, by the way, I argued against it, just full disclosure here. Mr. Honig was a formal voter, voted against it. I would have voted against it. The decision was made. The statement, however, and the decision was, we will do this unless economic conditions change significantly to raise the questions of should it be continued. Personally, I expect that the committee will want to continue the program.
Even though we've seen pockets of inflation with commodity prices, a stronger dollar, which at some point is going to hurt exports, maybe not immediately.
Yes, that's a very interesting question.
There's clearly some concerns out there that possibly enough has been done.
Whether you were for this program or whether you were not for this program, the team, and we are part of a team, are monitoring the situation. As far as commodity prices are concerned, you're absolutely right. Across the board, from copper to soybeans to corn to cotton, coffee, etc. It affects the pocketbook and, by the way, gasoline at the pump. The real issue here is these commodity prices, in terms of the cost push influence they have on inflation. Is there enough demand in the United States on the demand pull side when it pulls out of a company as opposed to when it goes into producing something? But the processing of the food or whatever it may be, how much ability is there for someone who sells that good or a service in the marketplace to price it aggressively? I'm not hearing from businesses yet that they have the capacity of pricing power.
Now, as a voting member of the FOMC, will you actively oppose Ben Bernanke in any of these decisions?
Well, you asked me a direct question, so I'll give you a direct answer. I don't know.
That's not a direct answer, my friend. That's as vague as it gets.
It depends. My job is not to oppose Ben Bernanke. Charles's job is
to express your opinions openly.
I always express my opinions openly. And by the way, Ben Bernanke, who's an incredibly fair-minded, thoughtful listener, a very good chairman of the Fed, very good chairman of the meetings, the way they're operated, takes everybody's account of view. He does not make the decision. He is the chairman. He's primer inter pares. But it is a committee decision. And we listen to each other very carefully, and then the majority of the committee rules.
I'll take your cufflinks as a sign that things are going to get better.
I wear these dollar cufflinks out of pride, and by the way, I also wear them because they only cost me $25.